Just because he answered 1 plus 1 equals 2, this man unexpectedly became the president of the United States. Little Shuai was originally a lazy American soldier, but because his superior didn't like him, he was transferred to participate in a human freezing project. The reason he was chosen was because he was too mediocre. In every aspect, he was unremarkable, making him a perfect template. Besides, he wasn't married and his parents had passed away, making him an ideal test subject. Meanwhile, the military, to make the plan more perfect, paired him with a suitable female. For this, his superior had to negotiate for 3 days and nights to carefully select a woman named Little May from the other side's team. Soon after, the experiment officially began. Since the military claimed the freezing plan would only last a year, Little Shuai wasn't worried about any issues. He even had the leisure to flirt with Little May, who pretended to be an artist and claimed her boyfriend sent her to participate in the experiment. Then, the two were transferred into the hibernation pods. Seeing Little May a bit scared, Little Shuai quickly comforted her. Unexpectedly, during their hibernation, a shocking change occurred outside. Due to a scandal involving their superior, he was sentenced to prison, and the freezing project was cancelled. But everyone forgot about the two unlucky people trapped in the hibernation pods. However, as the saying goes, blessings and misfortunes come together. As time progressed, the population increased significantly, while human intelligence gradually decreased. Eventually, they couldn't even handle garbage disposal. It was at this time that a massive garbage avalanche occurred. A single piece of trash fell, becoming the last straw that triggered a disaster. The wave of garbage surged towards humanity's end, causing skyscrapers to sway. Little Shuai's hibernation pod was also swept into someone's home. When he opened the pod door, Ah Wei was happily watching an entertainment show, even though his home's glass was shattered. Ah Wei was too engrossed in the show to care. Coincidentally, the newly awakened Little Shuai asked too many questions, which angered Ah Wei. So, he pushed Little Shuai out of his house. Only then did Little Shuai realize the world had changed. He couldn't understand people's conversations unless he listened carefully. He nervously pulled open the curtains, only to find the outside world looking like an apocalypse. Trash covered the entire city, and skyscrapers were leaning. It was then that Xiaoshe realized something had gone wrong with the hibernation plan. He had been asleep for 250 years. Just then, the doctor also pressed the alarm device. Xiaoshe had no barcode, which meant he was likely a black tiger, and Xiaoshe was also quite confused at this moment. He ran out of the hospital with a puzzled look, still feeling a bit dazed on the street. When he walked into a cinema and found himself unable to understand the jokes, he felt even more out of place in this world. Just then, he unexpectedly discovered another hibernation pod, which meant Xiao Mei had also come to this world with him. But just at that moment, the police had already found him and were going to take him back to court for trial. But the worst part was that the judge seemed unreliable, not to mention the lawyer, who was somewhat senile. Xiaoshe didn't know what to say. He could only watch everyone perform in a daze. It was then he realized that in this world, people didn't need any evidence. It was just because he didn't look like a good person that the entire jury cheered, and Wei didn't stand by his side. Instead, he said Xiaoshe had broken his window and demanded compensation. Xiaoshe hurriedly tried to defend himself, but the judge didn't care what he said, just laughed on the stage as if watching a comedy. In the end, Xiaoshe was sentenced to prison, and then he was taken to the identity processing system. All he needed to do was stick his arm in and say his name to get a unique barcode. But embarrassingly, the system was full of bugs. Xiaoshe just said he wasn't sure of his current identity, and the machine directly named him uncertain. Xiaoshe couldn't help but want to curse, but the barcode printing ceremony had already begun, and with a sharp pain in his arm, he finally got an identity in this world. He was then escorted to a place for an IQ test. After the test, he would be assigned prison work. But when he heard the question inside asking what 1 plus 1 equals, he was shocked again. He nervously answered, equals 2, as if afraid he might say the wrong answer. Not long after, he was taken to the prison. When he saw a prisoner being pinned down by a fat guy, he finally realized he had to escape. So he decided to design a perfect escape plan. Relying on the guard's low intelligence, he directly told him his sentence was over. The guard, seeing his confident look, actually believed him, but when he put the tattoo on the scanner for detection, the device suddenly sounded an alarm. Only then did the guard realize he was being deceived. Seeing that things were exposed, Xiaoshe ran off. Surprisingly, the prison's security measures were so low that Xiaoshe managed to run safely to Wei's house. To return to his original time, he asked if there was a time machine here. Wei was initially unwilling to answer, but when he heard Xiaoshe say he'd give him $30 billion to travel back, his eyes lit up as he remembered the incident. Because he answered that 1 plus 1 equals 2, the president unexpectedly appointed him as the Minister of the Interior. Xiao Shuai was momentarily at a loss. Unexpectedly, the president directly held a press conference, which looked more like a concert. The president's speech also sounded like song lyrics, but he still successfully attracted the attention of voters. At the same time, to divert conflicts, he decided to announce Xiao Shuai's appointment on the spot. And he asked Xiao Shuai to come up with a solution to the food problem. Xiao Shuai was momentarily overwhelmed, but to avoid going back to prison, he had to use his high intelligence to employ delaying tactics. So, using his position as Minister of the Interior, he invited Wei over to draw a map of the time machine, and then during the opening. For this, they needed to find Xiao Mei for help. For a moment, everyone believed it and took him to the planting site. Xiao Shuai had to pretend to grab a handful of soil, saying that the soil here was too dry, while asking Wei to hand over the map. Just then, Xiao Mei was also brought over, and Xiao Shuai claimed he needed to discuss solutions with him in the woods. But when he took out the map, he found it was useless. So, the two had to return. Suddenly, green drinks were being poured on the site. Xiao Shuai then realized that people were actually using drinks to irrigate the soil. He made a major decision to replace the drinks with water, stating that this would definitely work. Seeing him so serious, the president had no choice but to agree. Unexpectedly, not long after, people suddenly rioted. It turned out that in this world, drinks had become a pillar industry, with half of the country's population working in factories. Xiao Shuai was thus criticized by the public, and the president had no choice but to hand him over. To appease the voters, he forced Xiao Shuai to participate in a deadly game. Xiao Shuai was tied with huge pieces of debris, and the car he drove was ordinary, but his enemies were 3 giant behemoths. Fortunately, the third one was too big to enter the arena. Just then, the battle was about to start. 2 armored vehicles launched an attack first. Xiao Shuai had to hurriedly start his car. Perhaps it was divine intervention, but he managed to start it at the last moment. Meanwhile, the debris pulled him out, and the car unexpectedly drove between the two, causing an explosion, but it wasn't over yet. The third enemy crawled out of the previous ruins, ready to kill him. Fortunately, Wei used a camera to capture the scene of seeds sprouting, and Xiao Mei promptly informed the president. The president immediately entered the arena and announced Xiao Shuai's reinstatement as Minister of the Interior. The matter finally ended smoothly, and Xiao Shuai found an opportunity to leave, but unexpectedly, the time machine Wei mentioned turned out to be just a sightseeing car. In the end, Xiao Shuai became the president of the United States, and Xiao Mei became the first lady.